This, even with legal battles looming. A scene becoming more common outside state capitol buildings across the country. Protesters outraged as legislators inside move to pass new laws restricting transgender rights. The debate sometimes turning ugly.
You go after everybody's kids but your own.
That's right. I called you demons and imps who come and parade before us and pretend that you are part of this world.
54 bills restricting transgender rights have passed in 18 states this year, according to the Trans Legislation Tracker. Most of those bills limit gender-affirming care for transgender youth and restrict their participation in school activities like sports. Despite the viral scenes of protest, a new Scripps News YouGov poll shows Americans largely support these types of laws. 44% of Americans support laws restricting transgender care for minors, compared to 34% against. 75% of Republicans support the more restrictive laws, so do 45% of independents. On the other hand, 60% of Democrats are opposed.
They're seeing that people are responding strongly to the framing of this is about protecting our kids.
Political strategists and activists say that school shutdowns during the pandemic led more parents to become involved in schools and local politics than in 2021. Republican Glenn Youngkin won the gubernatorial election in Virginia after campaigning heavily on parental involvement in school decisions.
We're going to restore excellence in our schools.
Conservative activists say the Supreme Court's ruling overturning Roe v. Wade in 2022 also removed a traditional talking point used by Republican candidates to woo socially conservative voters, leading many candidates to hone in on gender identity and so-called woke culture.
We bill ourselves the NRA for families. We want to fight to make the family the most powerful special interest group in the country.
Conservative grassroots organizations like the American Principles Project are helping to give candidates who support anti-trans laws a boost. The group spent more than $15 million in the 2022 campaign cycle on ads in battleground states like this one in Georgia.
Joe Biden and the Democrats are going to teach critical race theory in our schools, put men in girls' sports, and even push sex change surgeries on kids.
I think that's been our biggest contribution, has been showing these politicians how to fight on this issue and win.
According to our Scripps News YouGov poll, most Americans support a federal ban on trans females competing in school athletics. That includes a majority of Republicans at 83%, also a majority of independents at 58%. 1 in 3 Democrats support such a ban. Now, some of the top Republicans eyeing the White House in 2024 are mounting campaigns built in part on anti-trans pledges.
It is wrong to teach a second grader that they may have been born in the wrong body. It is wrong to teach students that gender is a choice.
I will ask Congress to pass a bill establishing that the only genders recognized by the United States government are male and female, and they are assigned at birth.
Strategist Mike Ricci says this issue will likely push Republican primary candidates further to the right.
You're going to continue to see it, a race to who's fighting wokeness the most, who's protecting our kids the most.
And conservative activists are ready to go all in for the candidate who wins that race.
We get a nominee that supports where we're at on this. We intend to spend as much as we possibly can in the general election in swing states.
And legal experts are saying many of these new laws are likely to be challenged all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. But John Truppi is saying he's confident that these laws will hold up in court. Ava Joy Burnett, Scripps News, Washington.
It's a beautiful afternoon here in Southwest Florida, but as we enter into the weekend, the question now, of course, is are we going to see this weather throughout the weekend?
Right, and I have a feeling that you're going to want to get out today because as we bring in certified meteorologist Katie Walls, once again, like clockwork, we're going to have rain over the weekend.
That's right, but the good news, Nadine, tomorrow won't be a total washout.
Okay, that's great.
So take advantage of the first half of the day, and then as we head into the evening, especially after 5 p.m., friends, that's when those rain chances will be going up, and it's right in time for a lot of derby parties, of course. We have the Kentucky Derby running tomorrow, and we will be dealing with scattered showers and storms at that time, so heads up there. But for now, a live look outside showing off beautiful conditions here Here we are looking outside of our Fox 4 studios down Pine Island Road, and overall we are seeing those mostly sunny skies with those high thin cirrus clouds. Now we take another perspective from the Luminary Hotel in downtown Fort Myers. Just a little bit of a chop developing out there. Otherwise, temperatures today have been the big story, running hotter than average. We're at 89 degrees still. Dew point, not too bad. Still feeling relatively comfortable in the lower 60s. Tomorrow, though, it will be increasing. One reason why it is staying lower today, those winds are still out of the northwest at 10 miles per hour. Those winds haven't shifted just yet, but once they do, then we will be feeling those higher dew points. So this morning, as expected, starting off a little cooler, more comfortable in the mid 60s, and those afternoon highs climb to 91 degrees, the average high being 88. And it does look like tomorrow will be similar, but you'll notice tomorrow morning, there you go, instead of starting off at 66, we'll be starting off around 69 or so in Fort Myers, Lehigh Acres, as well as Cape Coral. So temperatures tomorrow morning running about 3 degrees milder compared to this morning. Overall, widespread upper 60s, around 70 degrees expected. Here are those weather headlines for tomorrow. Hot and dry most of the day. Again, the best chance for those storms will mainly be after 5 p.m. So if you are heading out after 5, just make sure you have that rain gear close just in case one of those storms heads your direction. And looking ahead to Sunday, we're updating our forecast based upon a ridge of high pressure that's now expected to strengthen and actually dry us out a bit for the start of next week. So that's a little bit of a change up from my forecast yesterday. I do anticipate isolated showers and storms on your Sunday afternoon and evening, but looking ahead to Monday and Tuesday, now looks like we'll be mainly dry. Just a 20% rain chance expected Monday into Tuesday, but focused on the weekend, friends. Okay, here we go. Overnight tonight, partly cloudy skies are expected as we'll kick off tomorrow morning, mostly sunny to partly cloudy. Again, those temperatures running in the upper 60s. Heading into the afternoon, more clouds building in. Could see a spotty sprinkle right here at 3 o'clock, but notice those showers few and far between. It's once we head into the evening time frame after 5 and 6 o'clock, that's when those storms are expected to fire up right here, and I do suspect a fair amount of us here in Southwest Florida could be affected with the wind shifts. So just something to keep in mind for tomorrow evening. Storms dying out, though, after sunset. And then looking ahead to your Sunday, I am expecting quiet conditions for the morning, then for the afternoon right there. That's why we have that isolated rain chance in the forecast. But for tonight, staying dry, partly cloudy, dropping down to 69 degrees. Afternoon highs tomorrow back to the lower 90s. Scattered evening storms on the way, and 30% rain chance for your Sunday afternoon, then mainly dry Monday and Tuesday.
The head of the CDC, Dr. Rochelle Walensky, submitted a letter of resignation today. Her last day leading the agency will be June 30th. Walensky's letter stated she had mixed feelings about stepping down, but didn't specify exactly why she was. She did say the timing of doing so felt right, with emergency COVID declarations ending. This comes as the World Health Organization says COVID-19 no longer qualifies as a global emergency, but it says that doesn't mean the pandemic is over. Recent spikes in cases have been reported in Southeast Asia and the Middle East. The health agency says thousands of people are still dying from COVID every week. Millions of others are dealing with long-term effects from the virus. Third grade is pivotal in a child's education, but pandemic-related school interruptions have made it harder for students and teachers. Nationwide data compiled by the Northwest Evaluation Association, or NWEA, estimated years of recovery for 3rd and 8th grade. Students behind in math and reading will take 5 or more years to get back to where they should be in those subjects. The Atlanta City School District is leading the way in helping its students get caught up. The district added an additional half hour to each school day that's fully dedicated to helping children who need a bit of extra attention.
But a lot of the students that we're getting are coming in and they are 2 to 3 grade levels behind. And so you really have to try to go back and catch them up from what they should have learned, some of those foundational skills, as well as still teach your grade level content, which is a challenge.
According to Scholastic, one of the world's largest publishers and distributors of children's books, one of the best things parents or loved ones can do to get their kids caught up in reading is to listen. Let your child read a story, be patient, and as always, offer helpful feedback. There's a lot of things that can impact your quality of sleep. Your mattress is one of them, when it may be time to start thinking about an upgrade.
And in just a few hours, Florida's legislative session for 2023 will come to an end, and it was a big one for Florida Republicans.
A look at what state lawmakers were able to accomplish right after the break. Katie?
Well, evening storms are on the way. Most of the day is going to be great for the beach. Boca Grande, Captiva looking for highs in the mid-80s and then into the low 90s for Fort Myers Beach. We'll have a closer look at your weekend weather next.
Will it stay or will it go? That is the question many have had about the Cape Coral Yacht Club for months. And today we are learning it's a little bit of both. We're going to explain right now on Fox 4 News at 5.
Live from Southwest Florida, this is Fox 4 News at 5.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite places to go. I live in the Cape. We're talking about the Cape Coral Yacht Club. It really is a special place for many, known as the local beach. And we know that so many of you have been waiting to learn more about its future, especially after Hurricane Ian.
Yeah, so city leaders announcing today that the majority of the yacht club is going to be demolished this summer. And Fox 4's meteorologist Andrew Shipley also learned more about popular spots like the beach, like you mentioned, and the Boathouse restaurant. Andrew?
Yeah, that's right, Shari and Nadine. We're learning so much about this popular area here tonight. That includes some of it opening up little by little. Others could be demolished. And that's because of the city saying that's because of the 50% rule. That's why Yacht Basin's buildings outside of the Boathouse restaurant are going to be knocked down. Now, leaders do say the bidding could start in July once FEMA gives the green light. Now, we could see that demolition probably September. Now, I did speak to City Council member Tom Hayden today. He says the new yacht club, he wants that to honor the old one's history.
Yacht Club opened in 1962. The pier opened in 1960. The Teen Center, which is now the Tino Center, opened 6 months after the Yacht Club. So parts of that building need to be preserved, and I've reached out to some of our older residents to walk through that building with staff and with me to determine what we can save and possibly incorporate into what we build.
So what about a timeline? Now, Hayden says the city's currently reviewing designs, and he tells me factor in permitting approval. That process could take anywhere from 9 months to a year, and the project itself, well, that could take years to complete. Now, we're also learning that the boat launch is still closed. That's because they're still dealing with derelict vessels from the storm that were damaged that they are taking in. Also, the beach, they're waiting for FEMA's approval to get reimbursement for that sand renourishment. Now, as for the Boathouse restaurant, we are learning that should open up later on this month. At the Cape Coral Yacht Club, meteorologist Andrew Shipley, Fox 4.
All right, Andrew, thank you. Well, it was the most productive session in history. That is how Governor Ron DeSantis is summarizing this year's 60-day legislative session, which delivered on almost every Republican goal that they wanted.
Capitol reporter Forrest Saunders takes a look back at the lawmaking year and what's next for Governor Ron DeSantis.
What started with a gavel drop ended with a hanky drop Friday. One of the most controversial and consequential sessions coming to a close.
We passed so many meaningful pieces of legislation in the best interest of all of our constituents.
Big bills include the $117 billion budget, a 6-week abortion ban, a near $1 billion affordable housing plan, universal school vouchers, tort reform, and so many more.
The one word I would put on this session is epic. And as you stated, we came in here with the supermajority, and that's a mandate.
Republicans using that power to also greenlight almost all the governor's big goals. Among them, limits on diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in higher ed, more Disney provisions, stricter enforcement of immigration law, permitless concealed carry, and easier access to the death penalty.
And I think a lot of people here, as well as across the nation, want to know what's next for you, and will you fulfill your term?
What's next for me is to go through this budget that they passed.
Post-signing day, DeSantis continued to swat down questions that he's running for president next year, but eventually he said this.
What happens in the future? Look, people will get on that relatively soon. I mean, there's just, you either got to put up or shut up on that as well.
GOP colleagues told us any conservative could benefit nationally by having their name attached to this year's slate of bills. Rep. Spencer Roach, however, went further.
I think it will be political malpractice if the governor does not put his hat in the ring for president. I think he's got to. Florida's having a moment. The governor's having a moment. He needs to capitalize on that.
Florida Democrats, meanwhile, not only launching this new ad attacking the governor's potential White House run, but warning this session will hurt more than help.
If I were to put a theme around it, I say that it's anti-freedom.
Minority Leader Fentress Driscoll said the legislature missed a chance to address things like affordability.
Rather than focus on those issues, lowering healthcare costs, for example, the GOP just wanted to pass culture war bills.
But plenty of bipartisanship, too. Of the more than 300 bills approved this year, lawmakers estimate about 80% of them received wide bipartisan support. At the Capitol, I'm Forrest Saunders, Fox 4.
And a lot of people in the nation looking at Florida after this legislative session as well. Now, bill signing now comes next. A lot of them are sitting on the governor's desk, but DeSantis already got to one of those bills just a little bit ago.
Yeah, he just signed that new Disney bill, which voids a deal the company made and reaffirms a state board does have control over the land around the Orlando theme parks.
Hiring is staying solid. New numbers out today from the Labor Department shows companies added 253,000 jobs in April. That's about 80,000 more jobs than in March.
There is no doubt this economy, this job market has been substantially more resilient than just about anyone would have expected.
The unemployment rate also dropped to 3.4%. That matches a 54-year low. Many economists still think we're headed for some kind of recession this year, but the head of Federal Reserve still thinks we can avoid it. And financial experts say today's job numbers indicate that may be possible.
Inflation and the rising cost of living are driving more people to start their own businesses. 5 million new businesses were launched in 2022, according to a recent survey from HR and payroll platform Gusto. That's up 42% from before the pandemic. And Gusto sees this entrepreneurship trend continuing. 41% of the new business owners in the survey say the rising cost of living is why they started their business. That's up from 24% who gave this reason the year before. Many of these businesses started as side hustles. Gusto economist Luke Perdue says we've really been seeing a change in the dynamic about when's a good time to start a business since 2020 when the pandemic started.
There's this common conception that it might not be a good time to start a business during a downturn. But what we're actually seeing is that as the barriers to starting a new business have fallen, and as all of these disruptions create new economic opportunities, that entrepreneurship is actually not only a viable option, but a really good economic option during potential times of economic uncertainty.
Women and people of color are behind a lot of the new business growth. 47% of new businesses were started by women last year. In 2019, it was 29%. The number of people of color starting new businesses has grown from 23% in 2019 to 27% last year.
Just thinking about the abilities for people to start an accounting firm at their dining room table, to start a bakery in their kitchen, or to start that consulting firm in their living room. The rise of technology has lowered the barriers to start a business and have also increased the options for these new business owners to find additional talent.
Getting financing can still be a barrier. Ways experts say new business owners can set themselves up for success in uncertain economic times include increasing their cash reserves and also having flexibility with hiring.
Paramedics are using ketamine to sedate people who sometimes are being physically restrained by police. What our investigative team uncovered that now has some people questioning this.
Across the country, we've been digging into how paramedics are using ketamine to sedate agitated people, many of whom are already in police custody. Medical professionals say this is an important tool to keep their patients and first responders safe. But our investigation uncovered cases in which people are questioning why it's even being used.
I miss everything. I miss him being a dad. I miss him coming home after work and just the love for life that I just desire, that I want back.
Tabitha Britt may never make sense of what happened to her husband Jamie in 2019. He was her perfect match and the father of their 9-year-old son, Landon.
Just fall out from side to side for me.
In 2019, Jamie Britt got drunk, blew out his tire blocks from his South Carolina home, and ended up in a struggle with police. He had been in a prone position for several minutes when paramedics arrived and injected him with a powerful sedative called ketamine.
What is this? It's a little medicine to make you just have a good time.
It's a drug paramedics use to calm a situation, to protect the patient and first responders, and to prevent someone's agitation from escalating into a Jamie Britt's case. Things went terribly wrong.
It's for everybody's safety. Okay? Everybody's safety. All right, just relax. Okay? No, you're not gonna die.
Eventually, Jamie stopped responding, and about 2 weeks later, he died. The coroner's office concluded Jamie's death was a homicide and listed 2 primary causes: restraint asphyxia and the toxic effects of ketamine. His autopsy also noted obesity, alcohol, and heart issues.
Stop. I have a right to stop you because you're being suspicious.
The incident has some similarities to another controversial death in 2019. Scripps News obtained this body camera footage from Aurora, Colorado, showing police confronting 23-year-old Elijah McLean. Paramedics injected McLean with ketamine while police restrained him. McLean never regained consciousness. An amended autopsy blamed complications of ketamine administration following forcible restraint for his death. Adverse reactions like these to ketamine are rare, according to 2 recent scientific studies, and medical toxicologists say the drug has a good safety profile. It's considered so safe, a Scripps News survey found paramedics in 48 states are allowed to use the drug for patients with agitation or similar symptoms. But our investigation uncovered multiple incidents across the U.S. in which patients and families are questioning whether ketamine is being used appropriately. And now, paramedic Greg Carney is speaking for the first time on television to publicly question the use of this drug. Carney was the longtime Charleston County, South Carolina paramedic who injected Jamie Britt with ketamine before he died.
So the goal was to protect the patient and to protect the responders on scene and to help ease his state of combativeness.
At the time, EMS guidelines in Charleston County, where Carney worked, said that ketamine could be administered to a patient if the person was clearly a danger to themselves or others.
If you had a chance to speak to the widow or the sister, what would you want them to know?
I would want them to know that I am terribly sorry for their loss, and I mean that with all my heart. I'm looking for the deeper meaning in this and why this happened and what are we going to do to prevent it from happening again.
A Charleston County spokesperson wouldn't agree to an interview with Scripps News, but we learned there have been changes to ketamine protocols since Jamie Britt's death. New guidelines now say if the patient is safely restrained by law enforcement and there is no risk to patient safety, chemical sedation is not indicated. And just days after Scripps News started asking questions of South Carolina state health leaders about the use of ketamine, the state's medical director of emergency services sent this letter to every EMS agency across the state, imposing immediate changes in ketamine protocols and monitoring, and requiring 100% of ketamine cases be individually reviewed and submitted to the state. It has been nearly 4 years since Tabitha Britt lost her husband. She moved away from South Carolina to escape the pain, but hopes something good will eventually come from her husband's tragedy.
Anything that can happen in Jamie's name to save a life and make things safer, that needs to happen immediately.
Lori Jangliha, Scripps News, Charleston.
Well, Fox 4 is continuing to follow through for you. A weekend shooting in downtown Fort Myers really rattled our community, and it sent one person to the hospital.
But listen to this. Coming up on Fox 4 News at 6, that person is out of the hospital. We are talking to the shooting survivor, who has now been released, and we'll have the latest on the investigation ahead of a busy weekend downtown, Katie.
Very busy indeed, and we're expecting wonderful weather this evening. I hope you can head out, staying dry, staying warm, but tomorrow's storms will be developing. A closer look at that timeline and the impacts you can expect next.
All right, so we have the Kentucky Derby, we have Cinco de Mayo. We also have Art Walk going on tonight in downtown Fort Myers.
It is 4:49 on a Friday afternoon on a fun weekend. Let's go right out to certified meteorologist Katie Walls. Really, today and early tomorrow, you're going to want to soak it up as much as you can.
Absolutely. We are expecting nice, tranquil conditions. A little bit more cloud cover coming in tonight, but not worried about any wet weather dampening plans. However, tomorrow evening, that's going to be a different story. Of course, we'll dive deeper into that. First, though, a live look outside right now from the Bayfront Inn, and conditions are looking picture perfect for downtown Naples. Really, regardless of where you are in Southwest Florida, it's going to be a great evening to get outside and enjoy. Perhaps you're celebrating Cinco de Mayo, and up here in Lee County, we have those high, thin cirrus clouds building in, but otherwise, temperatures are toasty. We're at 89 degrees, coming off of a high of 91. Dew point still relatively comfortable, sitting at 62, so your humidity is at 40%. And the reason why it's still on the lower side, those winds are still out of the northwest around 10 miles per hour. But once that shifts and becomes southwesterly, that's when you will start to feel that humidity bump up a bit. So for this morning, starting off relatively comfortable again, 66, average being 67, and those highs above average as we saw those highs head toward 91. So here are those weather headlines for the weekend ahead. Most of tomorrow will be hot and dry, but after 5 p.m., after 5 is when we'll see the best chance for developing showers and storms. And as of right now, it looks like most of us will be facing that potential. So after 5 p.m., Perhaps for derby parties, just remember to have that rain gear handy just in case. Then looking ahead to Sunday, isolated afternoon storms are expected, but note this, both mornings will be nice and dry. So if you want to head to the beach, you want to head out on a walk, not concerned about those morning time frames. And based upon the latest data, high pressure settling in a little longer than expected. Monday and Tuesday are anticipated to be mainly dry. So for tonight, partly cloudy skies becoming mostly clear by sunrise. Right here at 7 a.m., great weather for anything outside. For the afternoon, we'll see a bit more cloud cover develop with the heating of the day, of course. Right here at 3 o'clock, could see a spotty sprinkle, but showers at that point few and far between. Again, it's after 5 p.m. Right here, there's a 6 o'clock snapshot. You get the point. We're going to be dodging those raindrops, scattered showers and storms in the mix. And while I'm not expecting any widespread strong or severe storms, it's just that kind of pattern where you could see an isolated stronger cell. So please stay weather aware. For tomorrow evening, those storms winding down shortly after sunset. For your Sunday, again, a nice quiet start expected heading into your Sunday afternoon. The reason why we have isolated showers and storms in the mix right there. You see those little pockets of green and yellow indicating those isolated cells that could dampen some of our plans. But again, very hit and miss as we look ahead to your Sunday. As for that 7-day forecast, temperatures, they're going to stay warm over the weekend, 91 tomorrow, 89 for your Sunday, and generally those lower 90s on the way for next week with increasing storm chances as we head toward Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Do you ever feel like life is moving in a lot of different directions, loud, chaotic, filled with a lot of anxiety and stress? Which is part of the reason why so many Americans are now turning to the ancient art of bonsai in search of peace and tranquility.
But it is kind of a little bit of a sanctuary.
Precision for Jim Sullivan is one of life's constants.
I'm still learning, still trying.
Sullivan began his career as a mechanical engineer at the National Institutes of Health in the 1970s. His job has come with plenty of anxiety.
And if you've ever been a supervisor, that in itself is stressful.
Looking for an outlet to get away from it all, Jim Sullivan grew into a new hobby, bonsai.
Bonsai was a way to relax.
Jim spends most of his free time meticulously caring for the numerous bonsai trees he's collected over the years.
Someone would think 150 bonsai is a sign of insanity. Others would think, well, that's a pretty good start.
Care for these miniature landscapes requires precise attention to detail, which often mimics life.
There's an aging process. If the tree's well grown and you're lucky, it will outlive you and probably outlive your grandchildren, but it's a process of life.
It turns out Jim Sullivan, though, isn't alone in his love for this ancient art rooted in Japanese culture.
That branch is bent to the desired position.
Bonsai is the art of growing ornamental, artificially dwarfed trees or shrubs. And lately, there's been a lot of green in the bonsai market, not just in these leaves. In 2019, the bonsai market size was $5 billion. By 2026, that number will be closer to $8 billion.
You can devote as much time or as little time as you want to.
Much of the growth is from Americans looking for new ways to relax. Is this a nice day for them? Is this too cold, too hot?
Today's weather is great.
I wanted to learn more about how bonsai came to America, which led me here. This is the National Bonsai and Penjing Museum in Washington.
This trident maple is very vigorous.
Michael James is the curator.
So decisions have to be made for the health of the tree.
His work here never ends. He's always pruning these trees to be perfectly balanced and small.
The size of the leaves oftentimes tell the vigor of the tree.
Bonsai didn't reach North America until after World War II. This tree is 400 years old and was gifted to the U.S. by Japan. It has quite the story to tell.
In 1945, it was in the city of Hiroshima when it was bombed.
It's that resilience that many people identify with in bonsai, especially recently.
Our numbers of visitors have skyrocketed since the pandemic.
They certainly speak to timelessness and how much patience and dedication.
There's another reason behind bonsai's growing popularity. Studies have shown gardening can often have a positive impact on mood and brain chemistry.
Plants and gardening can be therapeutic. the repetition, the calisthenics, the exercise.
Not unlike, finding balance in life.
Many people see trees as like the care of a bonsai as a metaphor to life.
According to the American Bonsai Society, there are now more than 220 bonsai clubs in nearly every U.S. state, including Alaska and Hawaii.
Definitely, I've learned a lot.
And at this one in Baltimore, where we found Jim Sullivan recently.
Yeah, and it's opposite branching.
He comes here once a month.
I don't know about you, but my ponderosas really loved this past winter.
Members lean on one another for expertise.
I'm glad you could make it. I'm Charlie, by the way.
Hi, Charlie.
And sometimes just for company.
It satisfies your need to do some art and certainly relaxation.
That is not to say there is not some level of stress involved in the care of bonsai.
The first couple I got, I ended up killing.
The devil is in the details in bonsai.
Most bonsais may not live to be 400 years old, but these tiny trees are proving the timelessness of tranquility in nature. Chris Conti, Scripps News, Washington.
That's going to do it for us today. I'm Michelle London. Fox 4 News at 6 is next.
So we just stormed the Capitol.
That's one of the 10 men now guilty for their role in charging the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. Half of them are from Florida and 2 from South Florida. The role the Sunshine State played on that violent day coming up.
The spot known as the Locals Beach has to get rebuilt in Cape Coral, which means the yacht club will not be coming back in the way we all know it.
This is going to be a methodical process.
Tonight, Fox 4 is live outside the yacht club with some insight and a massive bill for the state of Florida just approved by lawmakers on the final day of the session, along with a tax break package.
But how much does that save you? And when does it take effect? Our Capitol reporter wrapping up the legislative session in Tallahassee tonight.
Live from Southwest Florida, this is Fox 4 News at 6.
Well, as federal prosecutors continue to try violent rioters from the January 6th attack on the Capitol, Fox 4 is digging into more of Florida's role in the investigation. Thank you for watching us here for Fox 4 News at 6 on this Friday. I'm Nadine Yanis.
And I'm Chris Earl. The latest convictions show the major roles that some Florida residents did play in the planning and the coordination of the violence. Yesterday, a jury in Washington convicted 4 members of the Proud Boys, including the leader, Enrique Terrio of Miami-Dade and Joseph Biggs of Volusia County. The central allegation in the trial is that the men conspired to stop the peaceful transfer of power on January 6, 2021 by attacking the U.S. Capitol.
Now, the 2 Proud Boys are the latest Florida residents to be convicted of sedition. This is the most serious charge anyone has faced in relation to the insurrection. They joined 3 other members of the Oath Keepers, including 2 from Southwest Florida. Fox 4 Investigates' Ryan Kruger has covered every case tied to Florida. And Ryan, these convictions show that role that Florida played on January 6th, and it was major.
Yeah, that's right, Nadine. Now, Florida, we've been reporting for months now, has by far the most arrests from January 6th. That has been clear for more than 2 years now. But after yesterday's convictions, that means all of the people who have been convicted of sedition, the most serious charge, half of them are from the Sunshine State.
So we just stormed the Capitol.
Yeah, we did.
That's Volusia County Proud Boy Joseph Biggs. He and the ringleader, Enrique Terrio from Miami-Dade County, the latest 2 Floridians to be convicted of sedition. That's the most serious charge anyone has faced from the Capitol riots back from January 6th.
When it moves from free speech to the actual action and going so far as attacking the Capitol, and it's just gone too far.
Florida has played an outsized role in the insurrection. More than 10% of all January 6th related arrests are Florida residents. More concerning, of the 10 people convicted of planning and coordinating the attack, half of them are from the Sunshine State. I asked FGCU criminology professor Dr. David Thomas.
What does that say about this state to have such an outsized number like that?
I guess in our own way, that we kind of condone the activity, or we don't spend a lot of time doing intelligence to kind of track the behavior and the activity.
Defense attorneys argued their clients were scapegoats, and it was former President Trump who incited the riot. Terrio's lawyers already planning an appeal.
We disagree with it, but we respect it. And at this point in time, we're currently drafting all the appellate paperwork to proceed forward.
And of the 5 Florida residents convicted of sedition, 2 of them are from Southwest Florida. David Marshall from Punta Gorda, Charlotte County, Joseph Hackett from Sarasota County. Both men are tied to the Oath Keepers. Both could face up to 20 years in prison. Ryan Kruger, Fox 4 Investigates.
Thank you, Ryan. In developing this evening, law enforcement and school leaders in Collier County are still working to get more information about a series of threats that got sent out for today.
It's important to note the threats were deemed not credible, but school leaders and law enforcement did not take any chances today. They did increase patrols at schools in Collier County. Now, the sheriff's office says it was aware of the post made online threatening a school shooting that did not specify a location, and investigators say the threat came from outside of Southwest Florida. And as you mentioned, it was not credible. However, the rise in threats and swatting incidents that we've seen in Southwest Florida just this week was something that Fox 4 spoke with Collier County's new superintendent with just yesterday. She says it is something that affects every person in the district when it happens.
And it's unfortunate that somebody thinks that it's a game. It's not a game. It scares parents. It scares teachers.
Now, it wasn't just in Collier County. Fort Myers police also say they were made aware of the threats made at Lee County schools today. Again, not credible, but again, parents might have noticed these extra patrols across schools in Lee County. All of this coming just days after 2 tech colleges in Lee County were targeted as part of a statewide swatting call situation.
A jury in Collier County convicted a 63-year-old of trafficking major amounts of opioids throughout the county. Chrissy Cugini is convicted after a 2-day trial. Detectives say they were searching Cugini's home when they found drugs and a duffel bag full of marijuana. But when they opened up a safe in the walk-in closet, those same detectives found 25 grams of oxycodone, hydrocodone, and tramadol. Detectives also found $20,000 in cash, taking that from the safe. Cugini will be sentenced on June 1st. DeSoto County deputies say that they also arrested a man after they say fled to Sarasota County after trying to kill 2 people, including a young child. Deputies say Jonte Curray Chapman was hiding out near South Alabama Avenue, and deputies who are also part of the U.S. Marshal Apprehension Unit arrested him to have him brought back to Sarasota County on those murder charges.
Well, it is 5:05 on this Friday. I'm sorry, 6:05. Wow, my time is totally off, but it's Cinco de Mayo. Maybe that's why I'm thinking 5:05 right now. And the weekend for so many of us has probably already started, Chris.
And it's certainly starting off very, very hot. You can feel it the moment you're outside. We'll bring in Fox 4 certified meteorologist Katie Walls.
That's right. We hit a high of 91 degrees today in Fort Myers. Not quite as hot for our friends in Naples as we look live from the Bayfront Inn. Just some high, thin cirrus clouds outside right now. Naples sitting at 83 degrees, but overall nice conditions for those of you who are heading out this evening. So right now, those temperatures out there, we're sitting at 86 in Golden Gate right now, 84 coming in for Clewiston. A little hotter up in LaBelle right now, reporting 90 degrees. Lehigh Acres currently sitting at 89. So helping you plan out your evening, notice quiet conditions. We will continue to see dry and warm conditions. Sunset just after 8 p.m. Expecting temperatures in around 82 degrees. Then we'll be dropping into the upper 70s by 10, 11 toward midnight. But for tonight, you don't need to worry about that rain gear. But heading into tomorrow evening, little different story. So let's plan that out. Tomorrow morning, a quiet start. If you have outdoor activities planned, really most of tomorrow will be just fine. But heading into the afternoon and evening, that's when those rain chances start to bump up a touch. We'll take a closer look at that in your high resolution hour-by-hour outlook next.
All right, Katie, thank you. Well, the Cape Coral Yacht Club, it really is such a special place for so many in the Cape, and it has been since the 1960s. But as we know, the force of Hurricane Ian closed the club, and whenever it does reopen again, we're learning tonight the Yacht Club will look very different. Now, the Yacht Club is known locally as the Locals Beach. That's why so many people are really counting the minutes until it reopens. But we're learning not only will it look much different, it's going to be a little longer than we might think. Fox 4 meteorologist Andrew Shipley live from the Cape Coral Yacht Club with a big update on what's to come after getting a look inside. Andrew.
Yeah, that's right, Nadine. And those that don't know, the Cape Coral Yacht Club is right at the mouth of the Caloosahatchee River, and it took a brunt from Hurricane Ian's surge as well as the wind. And tonight we are learning it could be a couple years before the Yacht Club is fully restored. Take a listen.
After the storm now, every single building suffered more than 50% damage. So because of the 50% rule, we have to rebuild the current building codes and current elevations.
District 3 Council member Tom Hayden said that means demolishing those buildings. The city says bidding for that contract will likely be in July, with demolition planned to start in September, pending FEMA approval. But Hayden says given the history of the buildings, he would like to see some parts of the buildings preserved.
I've reached out to some of our older residents to walk through that building with staff and with me to determine what we can save and possibly incorporate into what we build.
When asked what he would like to be saved, Hayden listed off beams, the fireplace, and possibly chandeliers and other items around the stage. As to the new yacht club, the city says it's still reviewing the design scope. With design, approval, and permitting, it could take anywhere from 9 to 12 months to finish, and that's just to start construction.
This is going to be a methodical process. We still have to wait for FEMA to finish all their inspections so we can determine reimbursement. So to open the yacht club back to what is going to be a tremendous destination place for the community is going to take years.
As what could be part of the new yacht club, Hayden has a few ideas, as a rebuild also means maximizing the space.
There's a possibility, we build a ballroom where big events can happen, smaller rooms where other events can happen, possibly extending the parking garage, because we know parking is a priority out there. We didn't have enough before because of all the people that were there. So looking at our opportunities, maybe a resort style pool, doing something with the piers. Is there a possibility to put a restaurant at the end of a pier?
Not every building will come down. The Boathouse restaurant can be saved and is planning to open in a few weeks. As for the beach, Cape Coral is waiting on FEMA for reimbursement for sand refurbishment, while the public boat launch will stay closed until at least September while it's being used for derelict vessel removal. And the city also tells me that the new design will also include a seawall, a boat ramp, as well as a marina, and they should have those plans finalized in the next few months. In Cape Coral, meteorologist Andrew Shipley, Fox 4.
With the work of the 2023 legislature ending the budget, the largest in Florida history passes through and is off to Governor Ron DeSantis. Our Capitol reporter Forrest Saunders takes a deeper look at the $117 billion spending plan for the next fiscal year in Florida.
There are so many things in this $117 billion budget. There are too many to mention, but let's highlight just a few of them. Getting broad bipartisan support, the massive spending plan has hundreds of millions more for teacher pay and record-setting amounts for per-student funding. Infrastructure getting billions, which fully funds FDOT's 5-year road program. Higher ed getting a chunk too, without increasing tuition, plus the environment for land conservation and water quality projects. The budget also has $12 million more for that migrant relocation program and a pot of cash to fight litigation, potentially against new state laws. Consumers and businesses getting a big tax break as well, about $2.7 billion via sales tax holidays and permanent breaks on diapers and baby and toddler products. The governor now gets the final say in what stays and what goes.
I think by and large they did a good job, but I mean, there's just sometimes it's easier to do a budget when you don't have a lot of money than when you do, because it's how do you say no or whatever. So we're going to go through that. We've got a lot of legislation to do. Most of the stuff, obviously, people know I view favorably. I have not reviewed every bill that's passed. There's things that pop out at the end, as you know. So we got a little bit of a runway left. So just stay tuned.
The process of budget review likely to take weeks, and it's typically one of the last bills signed each session. It'll take effect July 1st of this year. And of course, Governor DeSantis has that line item veto, meaning he can take out small portions of the budget if he doesn't think it's a good use of state dollars. We don't have any indication what he's going to veto yet, so we'll have to wait and see. That's the latest out here at the Capitol. I'm Forrest Saunders reporting.
It was a big legislative session as well for Florida Republicans. Well, tomorrow marks 1 full week and still no arrest in a shooting that happened in downtown Fort Myers last weekend.
As the investigation continues from Saturday night, we're learning more about the shooting from the survivor. Ahead on Fox 4, we speak with that man as he returns home from the hospital.
And it's been 3 years since the pandemic started. After the break, we'll find out why World Health officials say the worldwide emergency ends now. Katie?
Let's help plan out your Saturday. Lots of sunshine. Temperatures a little muggier, though, in the morning, up to 93 in the afternoon. Then for the evening, storms move in. We'll take a closer look at that timeline for when wet weather could dampen your plans next.
Think back 3 years, May of 2020, 7 weeks in the pandemic in the U.S. as we were all learning how to adjust in varying degrees.
What a wild ride it has been, and what followed really did change the world forever. But today, the World Health Organization made the announcement that COVID-19 no longer qualifies as a global emergency, marking really a symbolic end to the coronavirus pandemic, Chris.
Fox News senior foreign affairs correspondent Amy Kellogg takes a look from Milan, Italy.
COVID-19 is down, but not out. That's the word from the World Health Organization, which announced on Friday it is downgrading the pandemic. COVID is no longer a global health emergency thanks to an uptick in vaccinations that stopped large-scale outbreaks in most countries. The reclassification marks a symbolic end to 3 years of a pandemic that triggered one of the biggest health crises in world history.
The situation has markedly improved, with less mortality and an increased immunity against the virus.
But the WHO also warns this new designation doesn't mean the outbreak is over. Globally, we're still averaging a new COVID death every 3 minutes, and the appearance of new variants means world governments can't let down their guards.
This virus is here to stay. It's still killing, and it's still changing. The risk remains of new variants emerging.
In the U.S., most COVID-era restrictions have already been lifted, and the White House now faces a congressional deadline of May 11th to end the nationwide emergency declaration. Administration officials say we're in a much better place now than we were just a few months ago.
The COVID vaccines remain highly effective to reduce the risk of serious illness, hospitalization, and death. It is important for the American people to know that we are in a different phase of COVID.
The White House says it will announce its plan for ending the emergency declaration next week. In Milan, Amy Kellogg, Fox News.
Despite that emergency label getting lifted, the CDC says COVID-19 was the fourth leading cause of death in the U.S. last year. The group says that 1 in 13 deaths were COVID-related last year. In the year before, 2021, the third leading cause of death in the U.S. The National Public Health Emergency Declaration runs out next Thursday, May the 11th.
Well, keeping Cape Coral beautiful, that is the goal for city leaders, and now they are inviting you to adopt a median. This is where you'll get a chance to design a median with your own landscape, really picking what you want there. The city says they will even maintain your design. You will have to keep up the trash, though. So the city says anyone who wants to take part in the median beautification program can apply to adopt a median on the city's website. If you are wondering what you can or can't include in the designs, the city has provided a pamphlet that lays out what is or is not allowed as part of the program. If you want to ask more questions about how to get started, maybe you're interested, call this number, 239-574-0733, or of course head over to the City of Cape Coral's website.
And even on this Friday night, could be a tale of two weekends right now because we've got the heat, but we're certainly keeping an eye towards Sunday.
Yeah, we've been talking about all week. If you've been wondering why do we have beautiful weather during the week and then rain on the weekends, well, certified meteorologist Katie Walls has told us it is part of a pattern. So you want to get out today and tomorrow morning really are going to be the best times.
Honestly, a lot of tomorrow will be okay. Basically before 5 p.m.
Perfect.
But, you know, so many of us have evening plans, especially when it comes to derby parties, perhaps. But that's what we can expect for tomorrow evening. So this time tomorrow, I suspect we will be tracking a little bit more action here. But notice as we look live from the Luminary Hotel, conditions quite nice for those of you heading out at this hour. Not worried about any wet weather getting in the way of plans. And here we are right now looking live from atop the Fox 4 studios. You are overlooking Pine Island Road here in Cape Coral. And yes, we have a little bit of cloud cover out there, but these aren't rainmakers. They're just something that we'll be enjoying for the rest of this evening. And despite those clouds, temperatures still hit 91 degrees today in Fort Myers. Now we're down to 88. Dew Point still relatively comfortable, currently sitting at 62 degrees, making that humidity at 42%. So overnight tonight, partly cloudy skies becoming mostly clear by sunrise. Right here around 7 a.m. expecting a quiet start, a little muggier of a start though. It's going to be several degrees warmer compared to this morning. Upper 60s 60s close to 70 for the morning. Staying dry right here around 3 p.m. This is when we could see a spotty sprinkle develop, but notice extremely isolated at 3 o'clock. It's after 5 o'clock that you need to have that rain gear ready to go. That's when more of us will be dodging those raindrops for the afternoon, especially for the evening. So heads up there, we are expecting those scattered showers and storms for the evening time frame tomorrow. Then looking ahead to Sunday. Sunday, we'll start things off with a mix of clouds and sun, and heading into the afternoon, also have that rain gear close by. I am expecting scattered showers and storms for the afternoon. This model just updated right here at 3 o'clock, expecting the potential for some of those storms to impact our coastal communities for the afternoon. So again, the earlier each day, the better. At least the better the opportunity to not have to dodge those raindrops. The potential for your Sunday evening, also expecting some of those scattered showers and storms. Now, boaters, here's what you can expect for tomorrow. Light winds out of the east becoming southwest in the afternoon, 5 to 10 knots. Gulf seas 1 foot or less. Light chop for those inland waterways and bays on Saturday. And again, mainly evening storms expected. Sunday, afternoon storms in the mix. And for your Sunday, we'll see those winds out of the east 10 to 15 knots. Gulf seas around 1 to 2 feet. Now, what you can't see, you're seeing a lot of little gray dots. That's a good thing. Basically, red tide. It is in very, very low concentrations right now along our coastline. One spot recorded low concentrations, cautionary levels right here on Sanibel at Bowman's Beach. So keep an eye on that if you are heading that direction. Otherwise, it's not until you head up toward Nokomis in Sarasota County that we see those lower cautionary levels. And then a little farther toward the south, Marco Island looking just fine. Toward Goodland, we have very low concentrations present at this time. So your 7-day forecast, just keep an eye out for those afternoon and evening storms developing here the next couple of days. As of right now, though, Monday, Tuesday looking mainly dry before those rain chances go back up later in the work week.
Thank you, Katie. Brand new video of a suspected killer. The newly released evidence today of the man who's charged with killing 4 University of Idaho students late last year, and was on the loose for a month after the killings. New video of accused killer Brian Koberger's interactions with police in 2021. He is facing charges in the stabbing deaths of 4 University of Idaho students in November. Here's video of a raid at Koberger's home. Officers say they hardly found anything in his home after getting in, but they did find traces of blood on a mattress. Officers also searched his office at nearby Washington State University.
Also, investigators in North Carolina say they found this plane upside down in a river today. And despite this crash, investigators say the pilot and the passengers didn't have any serious injuries. All of this happening after they rented this plane and then it crashed around 9 o'clock this morning. The National Transportation Safety Board is now investigating. Also, the head of the CDC is stepping down at the end of next month. Dr. Rochelle Walensky announced today that in a letter to President Biden, she is stepping down. Under Walensky, the CDC did make it through the pandemic, monkeypox, and Ebola crisis, all of that in just over 2 years. A replacement, though, has not yet been announced.
The chief medical officer of Grady Health System in Atlanta says the 4 survivors from the mass shooting earlier this week are expected to make it. Dr. Robert Johnson says one of the 4 who was in the ICU is about to transition into regular care. Earlier this week, police say a 24-year-old man started firing inside of the waiting room of a medical office, killing 1 woman and injuring the 4 others. That led to an 8-hour manhunt throughout the metro Atlanta area before his arrest. And still no arrest in the downtown Fort Myers shooting involving 2 motorcycle groups.
Yeah, but we are learning more about what happened in this shooting directly from the survivor tonight. After the break, we will hear from the victim as they were just released from the hospital.
A downtown Fort Myers shooting involving motorcycle groups still unsolved as investigators search for leads. Fox 4 speaks to the survivor of the shooting just arriving home from the hospital.
Plus, surviving wild weather. Tonight, hear the story of an 11-year-old girl home alone when a tornado tore through North Palm Beach last Saturday.
The city of Fort Myers wants to become a hot spot for culture and the arts. So how do leaders plan on accomplishing this? We're live at one event happening right now to find out.
Live from Southwest Florida, this is Fox 4 News at 6.
Thank you for keeping it here on this Friday night. For Fox 4 News at 6, I'm Chris Earl.
And I'm Nadine Yanis. Tonight, and for the first time, we were hearing from the man who survived a shooting in downtown Fort Myers last weekend.
A shooting city leaders say involved two different motorcycle groups, with the mayor, Kevin Anderson, calling them fringe biker gangs. The suspected shooter's still out there somewhere, but the man who survived is now out of the hospital.
And he's now speaking to Fox 4's Colton Chavez with his story and the latest from city leaders on how they're keeping residents safe on what is a busy weekend. Colton.
Yeah, that's right, Nadine, Chris. Adam Redloff, he says he was walking from his job to his home in downtown Fort Myers when he turned this corner on Hendry Street. He says that night, that's when he heard shouting, he heard fighting, and then eventually, he says, is when he heard gunshots as well. Now, Redloff tells me he was shot twice in the side, which he thought at first was coming from fireworks. Now, tonight, Fort Myers police say they are still looking for any suspects from that night and are asking the public to help investigators identify this white pickup truck that police say is connected to the shooting. Now, today I spoke with Adam inside his home, who is up and walking around despite the fact he says both bullets are still inside his body. Now, he says doctors say those bullets are too dangerous to ever have them removed. But Adam shared another part of his story with me. He says back in 2018, his wife at the time, who he says was living with him in Detroit, Michigan, was shot and killed on Mother's Day. Adam tells me that was what consumed his thoughts as he says he was lying on Hendry Street last Saturday night.
That was the only thing that was going through my mind. This is it. This is how my wife went. This is how I'm going to go.
Adam agrees with Fort Myers Mayor Kevin Anderson, who says biker gang violence downtown is not very common. Now, to be clear, Adam says he does not know any of the bikers that were involved in the shooting that night or that he was involved in it at all. He said he was only trying to make his way home. But coming up on Fox 4 News at 10 o'clock, one of the things Adam doesn't agree with is the idea he's hearing from city leaders that when big gatherings like this happen, we take that risk of another shooting to take place. I'm going to have more of his story when I check in on Fox 4 News at 10 o'clock. But for now, live in downtown Fort Myers, Colton Chavez, Fox 4.
All right, Colton, we will have more of that incredible story tonight at 10. Until then, the suspect in the Naples lamp store burglary has been arrested. And not only are they accused of robbing another store, but that suspect only 16 years old. The Naples Police Department says that the minor, which Fox 4 is not naming or showing their face, was arrested after police say they saw them crossing the street. Officers say that teenager fit the description of a burglary suspect, and after an investigation, they say the teen confessed to not only robbing the Naples lamp shop, but also Big Mama Bicycles. That's a store about a mile from that lamp shop. This 16-year-old now facing burglary, theft, and prowling charges.
Earlier this week, we also reported about a woman, Clatavia Lee, accused of holding up two people at gunpoint after pretending to have an item for sale on Facebook Marketplace. Northport police say another suspect is now in custody and charged with the same crime. 28-year-old Jalexis Jenkins now accused of being the getaway driver from the crime. And both of the suspects were in Northport but are from Sarasota, accused of robbing people of cash and credit cards. Jenkins now facing the same charges as Lee: armed robbery, aggravated assault, and using a phone to facilitate a felony.
Well, the city of Fort Myers tonight is trying to narrow down its list of 155 applicants for police chief down to just 10. These applications coming from all over the country, and 4 are already working within the Fort Myers Police Department. Now, there is an active police chief that's acting as the chief of the department right now. He's been in position for a while now. That's Chief Pepitone, but the department is not considering him as a permanent replacement as of now. So the other 4 internal candidates include Acting Major Jason Fields, Captain Victor Medico, Captain Richard Meeks, and Lieutenant Walter Mitchell. The city tells Fox 4 it hopes again to have narrowed down to just 10 candidates to interview by next week. If you want to see a full list of names who have applied for this job, head over to fox4now.com.
Our look across Florida actually starts in Georgia. That's where police say they found 2 suspects from a Tallahassee shooting. And the shooting happened at this credit union in the state capital city. The 2 people hit being described as seriously injured tonight. Police believe everyone involved knew each other, but it's unclear how. Investigators believe this group of 4 was driving together this morning when a fight broke out. 2 of the suspects ending up shooting 2 others, then going off to Thomas County, Georgia. After searching for 4 hours, a county employee there reported seeing the truck the suspects were thought to be driving. Officers arrested the 2 after a chase.
Well, remember this video? It is the moments that a Florida father punched an umpire at a Little League game. This punch went viral, and tonight that dad is in custody. All new tonight, the umpire is now speaking out. His name is Ray Mora. He's a 63-year-old disabled Army veteran who was actually knocked unconscious by that punch. Moore says that the man you see punching him here actually snuck up behind him, and that this is part of rising tensions that he's noticed from parents out in the field. And as we said tonight, he's speaking about it.
Parents don't understand. Some coaches don't understand. Kids don't understand because nobody has made them aware of or made them stop. Need to stop because I just got hit. Maybe tomorrow somebody get killed.
And the sheriff in Osceola County did say that the father was saying he was, quote, defending his kid when he was arrested. That father who punched Mora says he was protecting his son, but he's now facing multiple charges.
There's some parts of Palm Beach County where people are still recovering from the EF2 tornado that hit last week and pushing through. But imagine being only 11 and home alone when the storm hit. Tanya Rogers from our sister station WPTV in West Palm Beach takes us through one girl's survival story.
I thought it was just a heavy rain because I heard the thunder and I was tired.
Saturday afternoon, K.O. Walsh could not believe what was happening. Her mother at the grocery store, and the rain outside sounded stronger than usual.
And then I heard a loud bang, which was the door frame for the locks and stuff, and it flew off the door and like fell into the living room. And I was confused hearing like the door knocking against the wall. So I walked up and I saw in the living room that the door was like opened, and I was confused thinking my parents just didn't lock it.
She walked to close the door, but it wouldn't close.
And then when I went near it, the door flinged open, hit me in the head here, and hit me against the wall.
K.O. says it scared her.
I cried running to my room.
There she waited until it got quiet outside. When you were scared and wanted to come out, did you come out through the front door?
I went out through the front door and I saw that a tree was blocking the way.
Kayla was able to get out of the apartment and run to a family friend's apartment about a quarter of a mile away.
She was crying and she wanted mommy, and she was terrified.
The friend called Kayo's mom to let her know she was okay.
I'm more than thankful.
And you're looking live right now at downtown Fort Myers for the Art Walk. The first Friday of every month, artists get to show off their work, and it's art the city wants to focus on using a new city division. It's called the Arts and Culture Division. And the objective here is to bring together arts, culture, special events, tourism, and marketing with one team, a team offering these opportunities for local artists to thrive. Fox 4's Caitlin Knapp is live at the Art Walk tonight. Caitlin, the city also told you it wants to make this area an arts and culture hub.
Yeah, they do a hub and really a canvas for artists. Artists like the ones here at the Art Walk in downtown Fort Myers. A part of the city's plan is to provide money to nonprofits and artists to create work. And it's art to represent not only downtown Fort Myers, but the areas surrounding it.
Art is something that can save somebody's life, something that can brighten somebody's day, something that can move somebody's heart.
Inside of the Gulf Coast Leisure office in downtown Fort Myers, local artist Richard Bravo shows me some of his work, explains how art saved him, and says it's what our community needs post-Ian.
It could ignite and give an energy that's obviously not supposed to happen because there's so much destruction and loss.
The city of Fort Myers just launched an arts and culture division that provides grants to artists and nonprofit organizations. The goal? unite local artists and make the area even more vibrant.
We want to see art in our sidewalks. We want to see art in our rooftops. We want to see art pieces scattered throughout the city.
Projects that could potentially be permanent.
It's endless talent in the city of Fort Myers and really in all of Lee County.
Talent that could be showcased not just in downtown Fort Myers, but across the entire city. A goal Bravo says only helps to give local artists more exposure.
You need more spaces if you're really going to call it an art culture area.
A lot of times we have our artist community not really being able to get the word out about all the lovely things that they're doing.
Paintings like this by Bravo, or murals like this from other local artists, displays that tell the story of the city of Fort Myers and its resilience.
I would say Phoenix out of the ashes. Something showing that from everything that happened during the hurricane, we have just transcended to greatness.
Now, if you're a local artist or you know someone that is a local artist, you're probably wanting to sign up for that application. Unfortunately, it is not available right now. Those applications will open up for the grants for those artists on May 10th, and that application will be on the city's website. Reporting live from downtown Fort Myers, Caitlin Knapp, Fox 4.
On a vibrant Friday night in downtown Fort Myers, still had so many shows, so many channels, so many streams, but they do require writers.
Oh, how the writer's strike could impact what you like to binge watch.
Plus, caught on video and caught off the shores of the Atlantic in Florida, the story of a man from Nova Scotia caught another shark, not his first, not even his sixth.
And today, temperatures staying hotter than average. We hit 90 in Punta Gorda, 91 in Fort Myers. And tomorrow will be similar, but it will feature more storms. We'll take a look at that timeline for you next.
Well, happening right now, your favorite shows are likely in reruns. That is because the writers who develop those shows are likely going on strike, specifically because they say the people who run the media companies those shows air on make so much more while they are barely scraping by. So Clayton Sandell from Scripps News speaks with one writer to find out what exactly they're fighting for tonight.
The Hollywood writers' strike drags on after talks between the Writers Guild and the major studios broke down on Monday. And covering this story, we met one writer on the picket line who says she is chasing her dream. But after getting a job, she moved to Los Angeles just in time for the strike. She tells us why she is putting down her laptop and picking up a sign.
Fists up, pencils down, LA is a union town. Fists up, pencils down, LA is a union town. My name is Brandy Nicole, and I am a staff writer on an untitled Bosch spinoff that's all about Detective Renee Ballard. I became a writer. I joined the Writers Guild of America East a couple of years ago. Moved out here 4 weeks ago. Now we're on strike, and so I'm here on the picket line. I love all the honking. My hope and my goal is to be able to be a writer as a long-term viable career, and under the current circumstances, that's just not possible. It's like a gig economy where you may only get one job a year where you're working for 10 to 20 weeks, and then that has to hold you until the next year or two when another job comes available, and that is not sustainable. Here we are. We're the creators of so many of your favorite TV shows, your favorite movies, and so we should be able to share in this success. It is amazing to me how much money these CEOs have made and how I believe just 2 of their salaries combined would actually equal our collective ask. That makes 0 sense to me, so I will be out here on the picket line with my fellow brothers and sisters for as long as it takes for us to get our piece of the pie. So this is 2 Adeles rolling in the deep. CEOs hoard it all, profiting from peak TV. I love streaming content, but I would like streaming content to pay us the same way that Broadwork TV does, especially considering so many people are actually watching streaming, sometimes watching more streaming than they're watching on actual TV. And it's the same work, so we should be paid the same. Oh, yay! I love writing. I love being a storyteller. I love being around other storytellers who help us to build and create worlds and make it even better than I may have originally thought of. I have 3 boys. I'm very proud that they can see their mom is out here pursuing her dreams and that I'm going for it and that it's happening. And even though right now we have this strike, together we will win.
The last writer's strike that ended in 2008 lasted 100 days. Clayton Sandell, Scripps News.
And it probably isn't going to be a weekend that you're going to want to be home binge watching anyway, at least for the first part of the weekend. Even now, you're going to want to be out and about. It's a busy weekend, and the weather tonight is looking great, Chris.
Make sure to hydrate, though,
yes,
if you didn't already from the heat earlier today, because it will get you quickly as we bring in Fox 4 certified meteorologist Katie Walls.
That's right. We did hit that high of 91 degrees in Fort Myers. Your evening will continue to stay warm. And while we're dry for now, notice those rain chances going up both Saturday and Sunday into the scattered range. I'll break down that timeline for you momentarily. But first, a live look outside from Pineland on beautiful Pine Island. This is Tarpon Lodge, of course. And this is one of my favorite shots because you're able to see some of those high, thin cirrus clouds outside. But otherwise, we are in for quite a pretty sunset right around 8:02. Temperatures continuing to stay warm here in downtown Fort Myers as well. We're still at 88 degrees. Dew point, measure of moisture in the air, not too bad, sitting at 62. So that humidity right now is at 42%. Highs today, it was hot for a lot of us, running several degrees above average. Keep in mind the average high for this time of year is 88, but in Fort Myers we hit a high of 91. Punta Gorda hit a high of 90. Down in Naples, Marco Island, Golden Gate, even Immokalee, we registered a high temperature around 87, so pretty close to average for our friends there in Collier County. Overnight tonight, partly cloudy, becoming mostly clear after midnight. And your Saturday will feature lots of sunshine the first half of the day. Bit more cloud cover expected for the afternoon. But notice right here around 3 p.m., showers few and far between. Could see a sprinkle. It's not until after 5. after 5 p.m. tomorrow. If you are heading out, have that rain gear close by. We paused that timeline right here at 7 o'clock. This is when I think we could have some of those impacts from developing showers and storms. And notice right along the coast in some of our most populated communities. So across Port Charlotte, Punta Gorda, down to Fort Myers, Cape Coral, stretching down to Naples, Marco Island, I am anticipating some evening scattered showers and storms on your Saturday. Then we look ahead to Sunday. Sunday morning, again, a quiet start. First half of Sunday should be fine, but for the afternoon, that's when those showers and storms will be developing. So afternoon and evening storms again in the mix on Sunday. If you do want to get outdoors on Sunday, I suggest the earlier the better. Of course, with those showers and storms initializing earlier in the day or Sunday, not expected to be quite as toasty as tomorrow. Boaters, here's your marine forecast. We are expecting easterly winds becoming southwesterly in the afternoon, 5 to 10 knots, Gulf seas a foot or less, light chop for those inland waterways and bays. For your Sunday, moderate chop expected for the inland waterways, otherwise seas on Sunday between 1 to 2 feet because we'll have a bit more of an easterly wind. As for that beach forecast tomorrow, again, not expecting the storms really to pop until after 5, so beach plans should be just fine. Lots of sunshine for Boca Grande and Captiva as we head into the mid-80s. Through Sanibel, we'll see a high around 86, 91 for Fort Myers Beach. Again, that little icon picking up on the potential for those evening downpours. Naples, Marco Island, upper 80s, close to 90 degrees. And just a friendly reminder, be sure to protect your feet, wear that footwear if you are heading to the beach tomorrow. But overall, it's not until the evening that I am expecting those impacts from those developing showers and storms. Now, afternoon storms expected Sunday, then we're mainly dry Monday and Tuesday.
Take a look at this video. The moments a man from Nova Scotia snagged a great white while fishing in the Atlantic at Daytona Beach. He said the shark was circling the boat for 20 minutes before it bit on one of the lines. The charter took these guys out to fish say it's the 7th great white shark that this person has ever hooked. Police in Kansas City arrested 2 college students claiming that they broke into the 2023 NFL draft and stole some of the uniforms. A 41-year-old man and a 19-year-old man took more than $1,000 worth of jerseys, Cowboys, 49ers, and the Vikings, all from the draft itself. Police say the 2 were credentialed as students from the University of Southern California and swiped the jerseys. So this was the steal of the draft. They now face second-degree burglary charges.
Well, take a look at this. Thousands of people had to be evacuated from their homes in Guatemala because of this volcanic eruption. Guatemalan leaders say hundreds of people were impacted when the ash from the volcano suddenly started falling to the ground. Thank you for joining us for Fox 4 News at 6. We'll see you again at 10 o'clock.
So we just stormed the Capitol.
That's one of the 10 men now guilty for their role in charging the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. Half of them are from Florida and 2 from South Florida. The role the Sunshine State played on that violent day coming up.
The spot known as the Locals Beach has to get rebuilt in Cape Coral, which means the yacht club will not be coming back in the way we all know it.
This is going to be a methodical process.
Tonight, Fox 4 is live outside the yacht club with some insight and a massive bill for the state of Florida just approved by lawmakers on the final day of the session, along with a tax break package.
But how much does that save you? And when does it take effect? Our Capitol reporter wrapping up the legislative session in Tallahassee tonight.
Live from Southwest Florida, this is Fox 4 News at 6.
Well, as federal prosecutors continue to try violent rioters from the January 6th attack on the Capitol, Fox 4 is digging into more of Florida's role in the investigation. Thank you for watching us here for Fox 4 News at 6 on this Friday. I'm Nadine Yanis.
And I'm Chris Earl. The latest convictions show the major roles that some Florida residents did play in the planning and the coordination of the violence. Yesterday, a jury in Washington convicted 4 members of the Proud Boys, including the leader, Enrique Terrio of Miami-Dade and Joseph Biggs of Volusia County. The central allegation in the trial is that the men conspired to stop the peaceful transfer of power on January 6, 2021 by attacking the U.S. Capitol. Capitol.
Now, the two Proud Boys are the latest Florida residents to be convicted of sedition. This is the most serious charge anyone has faced in relation to the insurrection. They joined 3 other members of the Oath Keepers, including 2 from Southwest Florida. Fox 4 Investigates' Ryan Kruger has covered every case tied to Florida. And Ryan, these convictions show that role that Florida played on January 6th, and it was major.
Yeah, that's right, Nadine. Now, Florida, we've been reporting for months now, has by far the most arrests from January 6th. That has been clear for more than 2 years now. But after yesterday's convictions, that means all of the people who have been convicted of sedition, the most serious charge, half of them are from the Sunshine State.
So we just stormed the Capitol.
Yeah, we did.
That's Volusia County Proud Boy Joseph Biggs. He and the ringleader, Enrique Tarrio from Miami-Dade County, the latest 2 Floridians to be convicted of sedition. That's the most serious charge anyone has faced from the Capitol riots back from January 6th.
When it moves from free speech to the actual action and going so far as attacking the Capitol, and it's just gone too far.
Florida has played an outsized role in the insurrection. More than 10% of all January 6th related arrests are Florida residents. More concerning, of the 10 people convicted of planning and coordinating the attack, half of them are from the Sunshine State. I asked FGCU criminology professor Dr. David Thomas.
What does that say about this state to have such an outsized number like that?
I guess in our own way, that we kind of condone the activity, or we don't spend a lot of time doing intelligence to kind of track the behavior and the activity.
Defense attorneys argued their clients were scapegoats, and it was former President Trump who incited the riot. Tarrio's lawyers already planning an appeal.
We disagree with it, but we respect it. And at this point in time, we're currently drafting all the appellate paperwork to proceed forward.
And of the 5 Florida residents convicted of sedition, 2 of them are from Southwest Florida. David Marshall from Punta Gorda, Charlotte County, Joseph Hackett from Sarasota County. Both men are tied to the Oath Keepers. Both could face up to 20 years in prison. Ryan Kruger, Fox 4 Investigates.
Thank you, Ryan. In developing this evening, law enforcement and school leaders in Collier County are still working to get more information about a series of threats that got sent out for today.
It's important to note the threats were deemed not credible, but school leaders and law enforcement did not take any chances today. They did increase patrols at schools in Collier County. Now, the sheriff's office says it was aware of the post made online threatening a school shooting that did not specify a location, and investigators say the threat came from outside of Southwest Florida. And as you mentioned, it was not credible. However, the rise in threats and swatting incidents that we've seen in Southwest Florida just this week was something that Fox 4 spoke with Collier County's new superintendent with just yesterday. She says it is something that affects every person in the district when it happens.
And it's unfortunate that somebody thinks that it's a game. It's not a game. It scares parents. It scares teachers.
Now, it wasn't just in Collier County. Fort Myers police also say they were aware of the threats made at Lee County schools today. Again, not credible, but again, parents might have noticed these extra patrols across schools in Lee County. All of this coming just days after 2 tech colleges in Lee County were targeted as part of a statewide swatting call situation.
A jury in Collier County convicted a 63-year-old of trafficking major amounts of opioids throughout the county. Chrissy Cugini is convicted after a 2-day trial. Detectives say they were searching Cugini's home when they found drugs and a duffel bag full of marijuana. But when they opened up a safe in the walk-in closet, those same detectives found 25 grams of oxycodone, hydrocodone, and tramadol. Detectives also found $20,000 in cash, taking that from the safe. Cugini will be sentenced on June 1st. DeSoto County deputies say that they also arrested a man after they say fled to Sarasota County after trying to kill 2 people, including a young child. Deputies say Jonte Curray Chapman was hiding out near South Alabama Avenue, and deputies who are also part of the U.S. Marshal Apprehension Unit arrested him to have him brought back to Sarasota County on those murder charges.
Well, it is 5:05 on this Friday. I'm sorry, 6:05. Wow, my time is totally off, but it's Cinco de Mayo. Maybe that's why I'm thinking 5:05 right now. And the weekend for so many